Friends, may I speak in the name of God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit. Amen. It seems a rather innocuous thing. A simple sign memorializing the tragic and heinous death of a 14-year-old boy. Yet over the last decade and a half since the first sign was erected, historical markers remembering Emmett Till's life and death have regularly been vandalized and destroyed, cut down and laying in the dirt, riddled with bullets, or mysteriously disappearing into the night. The violence these signs have endured are a shocking reminder of the violence black men and women have experienced through the years in America, where all men are created equal. Only this past week, another sign was found missing, fortunately to be returned. Now, it's a hard thing, of course, to read a sign that reminds us of our brokenness and imperfection. It is hard to face into the reality of our humanity, our broken humanity in particular, either collectively as a society or community, or individually as a person. These signs, be they historic markers alongside the road or the faces of our loved ones whom we have let down through the years, or the quiet memories of our heart's imperfection, bring with them a sadness and a shame we often desperately try to avoid, if not ignore altogether. And so it is understandable in a limited sense that these signs of our collective sin as an American society will bring out our shame and resistance, such that some will try to erase them from our collective memory. Yet, want as we may to avoid the feelings of guilt and sorrow for a history that is ours as a society, these signs are essential to our story. These signs remind us of our history and heritage, a history and heritage for which we as a people still yearn for restoration and reconciliation. They remind us of who we can and have been tragically through the years. They remind us, too, of the suffering too many have experienced as they simply strive for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The courage to tell the broken story, the imperfect story, the gut-wrenching and heart-shaming story of ourselves, our broken selves, is also, at the same time, the foundation for our growth and our transformation. It is there in the broken soil of our imperfect humanity that the seeds of the unfulfilled imago Dei, that is, image of God, are planted. There, when we honestly and resolutely face our failings, that we begin to turn to our potential as children of God. It's for this reason that I so love this morning's lesson from the Gospel of Mark. It's not the most flattering story about Jesus. Confronted by a Gentile woman from Tyre and Sidon, Jesus initially ignores her with both the racial and patriarchal dismissiveness natural to Jewish men of his day. Let the children be fed first, for it is not fair to take the children's food and throw it to the dogs. Where else do we see Jesus turn his back on another? Where else do we see Jesus insult and dismiss another who has come to him in his or her need? Like those memorial signs commemorating the heart-wrenching life and death of Emmett Till, we wouldn't be surprised if Christians through the years tried to hide this story from our eyes. We wouldn't be surprised if the evangelists simply forgot to include this encounter in their texts, or if the first apostles failed to retell the story themselves, hoping that it would simply fade from our memory, or if the early Christian community simply thought the stories didn't belong alongside the beautiful stories of righteous Jesus. And yet the story remains. It remains here for us this morning. It remains here for us anytime we're willing to read it. It remains here for us to face into. A stark reminder that the society of Jesus and our society still today was plagued then and is plagued today by inequality and prejudice. Inequality and prejudice so powerful and pernicious that it even found for a moment their way into the life of Jesus. And like those memorial signs reminding us of the heinous death of Emmett Till, these stories remind us that we too must face into the inequalities and prejudices that find their way into our life still today. The inequalities and prejudices that find their way into our life here at Christ Church, that find their way into our life here in Grosse Pointe and in Metro Detroit, or simply within the day-to-day encounters of our individual lives. These stories, this story of Jesus, reminds us that we have to face into this shame. And yet St. Mark reminds us that the pathway to the kingdom of God is found not through avoidance and denial, but through heartbreaking truth and life-giving reconciliation. And so Jesus turns yet again to the woman and says to her, "Your daughter has been made well." Amen.